There once was a city named So. So called because of a peculiar characteristic in the speech pattern of the people who lived in the village of So, and that was the habit of constantly responding to anything you might have to say with the word so. You could walk up to any individual in the city of So and say, "Your dog died last So. Your grandmother had a heart of So. A meteor is about to hit town square and the whole town has to be evacuated. So." And so the city was named So City. But you know, over the years, another strange characteristic was noticed, and that was the habit of sighing. Sighing a lot. People often got up in the center of town with new ideas and tried to present them. For example, one year there was a traveling salesman that came to town, and for the first time he was giving something away, something for free. "Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in history, we have discovered a cure for every epidemic on the planet. No longer do your loved ones, your friends, your family, and all those poor people on the continent of Africa need to suffer." So the city was renamed So-Sai City to accommodate for those two strange characteristics. But you know, the people of So-Sai City were a bit lazy, had a few complaints about that name. Sounds like a hiss, sounds like a snake. So-Sai City. Let's shorten it. Let's make it snappy. Let's make it conversational. So they took out C and changed it to Society.
Well, I know Emily the artist through my partner Sarah. They have a child that's about the same age as our own, and so we've had a good friendship with her and her partner Linton, and they live around the corner from us, so very easy connection.
Okay, great. Emily described you as a spoken word artist. Can you elaborate on what that is exactly?
It's a person that writes and performs stories, monologues, poems, characters, just a variety of literary forms, creative writing, spoken really, so yeah, performed creative writing.
And is it something you picked up later in life, or do you remember as a child, did you enjoy writing in any way? Or?
Yeah, it was always just my way of kind of ignoring the bullies, you know, or the people around me that I didn't want to associate with. It was my way of finding my own personal space that I could communicate with, like my ocean that I could dive into whenever the world got too crazy or whatever. I just go there and yeah, explore. I do have a writing studio, and I like a nice wooden table, and I like books around me. I actually do like lots of things, like bits of just knickknacks that other people would consider clutter, but for me they have emotional associations and they help me to devise stories. I mean, an example is I was writing a screenplay and I was having a difficult time writing the screenplay, so I took a whole bunch of toys and put them on my table and just started playing with them and putting them into the positions and blocking them and creating the streetscape and the people, and you know, using Native American, you know, little plastic figurines and soldiers. Yeah. But suddenly I had the couple sitting on the park bench kind of thing. Yeah, so for me having things around me is quite nice. And sometimes that actually becomes the creative thing itself. So in this instance I had all these toy soldiers and set them up on my desk and just started putting them into positions and lighting them and photographing them with a macro lens. So that itself became, instead of writing the script, I did a whole photography exhibition out of it instead. So this one, basically I took a box, I turned it upside down, and I cut a hole out of the bottom of the box, put a nice sort of soft piece of paper over the top of it, and then got this crazy light showing up in the background on the corkboard, and put this soldier on it, and I called it "Which one of you Arabs will be next?" Oh, I'd been working as an activist. Worked for Greenpeace for a while, worked for a group called the Public Interest Research Group, which is a consumer advocacy organization run by Ralph Nader in America. I also worked for ACORN, which is a group that does community development and housing issues in the US. So moving here, I was just working in a cafe.
All right. Oh, yeah.
And, but when I moved to Australia, I came here with a theatre director. And she just encouraged me to perform my own writing. So I was writing poems and stories, and yeah, and I got up at a couple of open mics and just started going around to these kind of poetry reading nights, and you know, so that led to me being paid to do it. So I was happy with that. Well, just the relationship with the audience, the direct relationship with the audience, looking them in the eye, that human-to-human contact. It's one of the things that I think is lacking in most people's lives, really, if they're getting into so much of an online world where they're not actually consuming anything that's directly related to the artist. I mean, they're consuming a simulation, a video, a book, a CD. But to actually have the artist there in front of you saying what's on their mind is the most valuable thing we could possibly have. And because of the drive for mass consumption and, you know, sales and all those sorts of things, we sacrifice being in the same room as the artist.
Definitely passion and vulnerability are probably the two things that connect with the audience most. Especially in live performance, where the audience sees your humanity and not your perfection. And I think also the passion behind it. You have to kind of sound like you believe what you're saying, really, and give it a variety of intonation and modulate your voice as well so that it's loud in some bits and whispered at others. I think also just taking on several different types of voices within the same piece is an interesting technique. Well, I kind of just do what I feel, really. I was coming out of the shower one day and I just started doing this. Wouldn't it be nice to go for like a week without a shower? I mean, how many days could you go without a shower? Just those things pop up every once in a while, and you know. And then there was another voice where it came up, which was, I had a girlfriend once, but I told her I couldn't see her no more because I was in love with somebody else, and it just that voice seemed to come out of it, you know.
So it's not necessarily a conscious choice; it's almost a level of
yeah,
coming from
yeah, yeah. I don't know where they come from. Normality, like questioning what normality is, and social norms, and morality as well. Trying to give voice to people who aren't generally heard in society. So homeless people, you know. I've got one piece that has 3 characters. It's like an African American waiter in a dingy cafe. An Aboriginal guy and a racist boss, and the 3 of them kind of having an argument in a cafe. And yeah, I suppose race is an issue. I was working this cafe, right, over on Devonshire Street. The place get about 15 customers in 8 hours. Manager walks in. Yo, Mr. Big Man. Man had the nerve to say to me, "Who told you to sit down, mate?" Well, I stayed seated. I said, "Forget that. I ain't seen a single customer up here in over an hour, punk. I ain't gonna be running my little butt up in here, nobody up in here." You know what I'm saying? You should have seen his big old Australian jaw. Just about like dropped, hit the floor, right? I figured we was gonna have to duke it out. But old boy changed his tune. He come out with, "Mate, why don't you get behind the counter and cut me a piece of mud cake? Make me a flat white while you're back there." There's a little sample.
Cool.
Well, I mean, I'd say stick with your passion and your hobbies, and eventually they can transform into your life. So instead of working for other people's dreams, you work for your own.